All right, welcome into Before Floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I am live from Wells Fargo Arena, the bowels of the arena, down here very close to the Heat locker room. We've got today Jonathan Ramlicon. You can follow him at 3-Piece Combo. Greg Sylvander, you can follow him at Greg Sylvander. We've got Alejandro Villegas, our producer, Alejandro VG32, and Brady Hawk 305. Make sure everybody is subscribed to our Off the Floor feed. Plenty of new content on there, and also, of course, to the YouTube channel, because put a bunch of interviews up there today. I had a one-on-one with Tyler Herro for a few minutes. I had a minute with Bam before he walked off from me. PJ Tucker as well. That's all up on the channel. We're sponsored, as always, by our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network and of the Miami Marlins. You can get it at FTX Arena, the 100 level and the 300 level, the Biscayne Bay IPA. Also, Tropical Bay IPA, I should say. Also, Winn-Dixie, Whole Foods, Publix, Quarterdeck, our sponsor. Great local beer. Make sure you're supporting them. Also, our friend Mark Brown, PA.com. Well, his name is not PA, but MARC Brown, PA.com is where you can find him. He'll help you with your estate plan. You also got a title company in-house. He can help you if you got any real estate. If you're young with a family, you need to sit down with him. Really good guy, very calm. He'll go over all the paperwork with you. It's a great small office right there in North Lauderdale, just north of Cypress Creek Boulevard, off of Andrews. Also, by the way, next to Wells Fargo. 954-566-5678. 954-566-5678. All right, let's get to it. I kind of know the answer to this, Brady, because I just was in the pressers with Eric Spoelstra and Doc Rivers. But who is in and who is out?
Yeah, the main ones for Philly, obviously, no Joel Embiid. No James Harden on the second night of a back-to-back. They were pretty much Harden was said last night he was expecting to play, like he was going to play, and then obviously at the last second. That's not the case for Miami. They don't have Gabe Vincent. They don't have Oladipo. Everybody else is playing. Jimmy Butler, Caleb Martin is playing. The other guy that's not on the injury report that I feel like is not going to play is Dwayne Dedmon. It just feels like they have 10 guys. They want to go to 9. Spo's continually said every time he's asked about kind of the stretch of down the stretch of the season, he's asked about Markieff Morris. I think there's something to evaluate there with him at the 5, specifically in certain matchups with him at the backup 5, that I just don't feel like there's a reason specifically in this game to play Dwayne Dedmon.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And Spo did say on the pregame that he wanted to take a look at Markieff in different situations. Look, I thought Harden was going to play tonight, actually, and the Philly reporters were surprised about this. But, Greg, let's just get to it. Alex and I talked about this on the pod last night. I recommend you check this out on 5 on the Floor. Two things are happening here in my view. Number one, these teams do not care if the Miami Heat get the number 1 seed. It is just apparent. Like, essentially, Miami can all but wrap this thing up against pretty much everybody but Milwaukee. I guess Boston could make a run. But Miami's going to be the one. I mean, they win tonight, they're going to be the one, and they're going to get the best of both worlds, which is they're going to get home court throughout the playoffs, and they're going to be able to probably rest guys in the last week of the season. Spo is going to be able to mix and match. What do you make of the fact that it's clear? I mean, these teams think the Miami Heat are a soft number 1. There's no way around it at this stage.
Yeah, I guess I would look at it as those teams are realizing that the math is no longer in their favor in an effort to try to acquire the 1 seed. So it's convenient that now they're not scared of the 1 seed, because that's the position that they're forced to be in by virtue of where they're seated in the conference. So I don't know. I'm not buying that. Like, I guess I'll say this from everyone I've spoke to, and I think Ethan, you'll echo this. As much as maybe teams are not fearing Miami fears none of those teams in return, any of them. So the home court is a real bonus there. Typically, they've had to be a team who's had to go on the road to start a series and get through something, like they did it against Milwaukee last year. The bubble obviously was a little different. So now they have the advantage of home court. To me, if teams want that kind of smoke, we'll come on down and we'll be waiting for you. You know, like I think that the approach the fan base and the team is going to take.
Well, I'll tell you this, from short conversations today with Bam, PJ, and Tyler at Shoot-Around, they want the number 1 seed. They want it for 2 reasons. They want it because, A, they view it as an advantage to have home court, and I don't think there's any question that this team would benefit from home court. Remember, even some of the guys who went to the finals in the bubble, Herro and Robinson, have not played a lot of road games in the playoffs in hostile environments. The road, having those home games will matter. But I also think they view it as an accomplishment. I mean, you look at how many games the guys have missed this year. They set a goal. I don't know that they put this up on the blackboard, but they set a goal to be the number 1 seed. To accomplish that, considering that Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, and Bam Adebayo are in their own way, are going to miss like roughly 20 to 30 games this season, I think is significant. But let's get to this. Let's get to tonight, and then we'll go big picture. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
Real quick. You know why it's important to those guys? Because the individual awards, like the 1 seed, is what solidifies the Heat in those conversations, I think. Anyway, back to live program.
Yeah, and watch the Bam video I did with him today, where I told him he's back in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, and he just said good. I mean, he wants it. There's no question about it. Tyler's getting it, so getting what and Spo's not going to get it regardless, as I've said all season long. Jonathan, so let's look at tonight. I mean, what can be? I mean, you got to get the win. Tyrese Maxey obviously is a concern, but I mean, what else do you look at tonight?
Yeah, just making sure that we rebound the ball, right? Sometimes we'll allow Bam to switch out and then just not rebound the ball, giving up second chance points to teams when we get the stop the first time. So I think tonight the main thing is going to be just rebounding the ball and not turning over the ball too much either. So limit the amount of possessions they're getting. Like you said, Tyrese Maxey, he's been playing great, but he's been playing great off of James Harden. So it's going to be interesting to see when, if he's by himself, if he can produce that same type of numbers. And when it comes to Tobias Harris as well, he's a guy that's kind of hit or miss. He's not necessarily a great volume scorer with great efficiency all the time. And outside of that, I mean, Korkmaz, you have a couple other guys. There's really not too much there. So I see this one maybe starting off a little bit close, but once the game gets going and Philly has to go to their bench, that's when the Heat start pulling away.
Brady, no Oladipo tonight, no Vincent, but the core four are playing, which has not happened a lot this season. And I would hope for the Heat's sake that this game is not close enough late. Doc Rivers said we just want to keep it close and try to steal it. I hope for the Heat's sake they're not in that position tonight. They really shouldn't be. But when the four of them are on the floor, throw PJ, we know what you're going to get from PJ, so let's take him out of the equation here. But when Herro, Lowry, Butler, and Bam are on the floor, what do you want to see that we haven't seen already?
I want to see, well, first of all, when we think of that lineup, the first thing you think of is closing lineup, because I still feel like if you throw PJ in that mix as well, that is the closing lineup most nights. So there could be some differences with matchups maybe, but most nights that's going to be what it is. I feel like the main thing is that Tyler Herro has shown, and credit to you, Ethan, again, that this could be the game where you can talk about on Twitter how you were right all along. They need to figure out that Tyler Herro is the number one option offensively. Like when Jimmy Butler is out there, Kyle Lowry, of course, can set everybody up. But I feel like there's reasons why Tyler goes on these scoring runs when he's out there and they have the spacing of Markieff and PJ who just sit in the corner and give him room. I feel like there has to be less of just collapsing total on Tyler if these other guys just do their role and know their role, that Tyler is kind of flourishing right now offensively. But there also we haven't seen too much of it because we constantly talk about these guys being out. That I'm interested in these games, as you just mentioned, to see all four of those guys out there just to see how it looks. But ultimately, it really does for me come down to Tyler and just these guys deferring in a lot of ways when he has it rolling like he's been as of late.
So let's just say it then. And I mean, a lot of this comes down to Jimmy deferring, doesn't it? Like, isn't that where we're at? Because, right? I mean, that's the guy.
The playoffs.
Bam defers naturally, so like it's not him.
A wise man, I saw this quote. I think it was etched in stone on Biscayne Boulevard, right near the arena. A wise man once said, "The playoffs tell." Ethan Skolnick. So until we see the playoffs and Tyler do it in that fashion, I don't know that that we can completely say that the keys are given to him, but come a good playoff run, then the transition is in place, right?
So I'm with you, but is there any reason, and we can close here and then we'll get to the picks, but I mean, is there any reason, Jonathan, from what we've seen, to believe that Tyler Herro cannot do in the playoffs? We've already seen him do some stuff in the playoffs, so, right? I mean, it's happened. But that this Tyler Herro, who is, and I recommend everybody watch my video with him because he talks about make counters to the counters, what he's learning and how to deal with different coverages, that this Tyler Herro, like, does anybody expect Tyler Herro to fall flat on his face in the playoffs? Because to me, that's like the least likely of a lot of scenarios that we've talked. I have more concern about Jimmy against Lane, Bam getting in his own head and not being aggressive. Like, do we have any concerns about Tyler Herro performing at a high level in the playoffs?
No, I think we're at the point where you really don't have to worry about that anymore because regardless if, he has a bad shooting night, he's still starting to make impact in other ways. I mean, his making is becoming phenomenal. To your point, the counters to the counters, once he gets that and then he still draws, an extra defender, he's getting people open. And if he's not making the right pass, he's making the pass to the hockey assist. So he's doing a really good job playmaking. He's our only 3-level scorer. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's over 40% on catch and shoot, so he's near automatic. He's an excellent free throw shooter, and he's been getting to the free throw line a lot more consistently. He's just doing it all, man, and he's a tough bucket getter as well, where he'll make some really tough shots. I mean, I think it was last game that step back in the eyes of some defender to put us up with less than 3 minutes to go. So when things come down to it and the pressure moments are there, like you said in the bubble, he did it, and with what we've seen over the last stretch past the All-Star game, I think he could do it again in the playoffs.
All right, I got to get to a Prize Picks show, so I'm going to let you guys go quickly here, okay? Jonathan, you can start. We'll rotate around to Greg. The one thing that could trip them up tonight. Pick one.
Rebounding the ball.
Greg?
Take Tyler, 19.5 points on Prize Picks. Go over. Smash the over. Use the code 5 to double your deposit. I know that you'll allow me to slip that in there.
I will.
I would say it's going to be something like a couple of these guys that don't play often hit 4 threes each, like maybe George Yang. Is that how you say his name? I can't even pronounce his name. That guy. Maybe he'll have 5 threes. Otherwise, the Heat got this.
Brady?
Yeah, I'd say the only way is if DeAndre Jordan all of a sudden becomes like an outstanding pick-and-roll defender. Because all the things I was talking about on the off-the-floor thing today was like with the ways Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson can kind of pick apart this Philly defense, it just downgraded totally to DeAndre Jordan from Joel Embiid, that pick-and-roll dissection can be at another level. So that's kind of the only way it would even be possible. It just feels like Miami has too many weapons in that area, specifically against this Philly group that if we're talking about Prize Picks, I'm more interested in Duncan Robinson going over because I feel like he just has
9.5 points, Brady.
Yeah, I would definitely go over on that. It just feels like even when Joel Embiid's playing, he gets so many good looks against Philly because they play a deep drop. And now with DeAndre Jordan, it just feels like even in garbage time, if they even get a decent lead, these are the type of games where Duncan can actually get extra reps of some kind.
All right, if you want to know how to subscribe to Off the Floor, just check out any of our Twitter feeds here. Brady and Greg and I, we all send it out, as does Alex. Post-game pod. Greg, I know I got something I got to do for that for you before I send it to you. Greg will be hosting. I'll be popping on here from the arena. As well, Alejandro is going to take you from here. Check out our sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brewing, MarkBrownPA.com, and a new episode of Prize Picks on 5 is going to be on the channel. There's a ton of stuff on the channel today, guys. Make sure you check all of it out. Have a good day, everybody.
Let's go Heat.
Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you, Ethan. Now let's listen to Eric Spoelstra and Doc Rivers. Let's start first with Eric Spoelstra talking about tonight's game against the Philadelphia 76ers. The Miami Heat trying to get a bigger advantage over the second place in the East.
No, same as this morning.
Caleb is good to go, correct?
Yeah.
Eric, just from an outsider's perspective, I'm just curious what you've seen from that young guy like Tyrese Maxey.
He's gotten a lot better. He's gained a lot of confidence. I think he's earned trust of everybody in their locker room. And then when that happens for young guys, they can make big jumps. And I think that's what you're seeing. Very assertive, very aggressive. And it appears that, that he's earned that trust to be able to be aggressive like that, even with the veteran players on the floor.
And then obviously you're not going to be able to see the duo of James and Joel, but just, again from an outsider's perspective, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a great fit. Their games complement each other. Either guy can make plays, either guy can be the recipient, from the other guy. And you're just talking about, 2 MVP caliber talents, that has a way of making itself work out. All right. Thank you.
We have a couple of views.
Hey, that's okay, Maddox. We don't have to.
They're not going to listen to me. We'll start with Tim Reynolds. Go ahead.
Or maybe if you're too busy. I don't know what ad I'm hearing. Spo, have you ever thought about the possibility that, like, much in the same way that the Heat were modeled, kind of with so many people? I mean, you've been with Pat forever. Do you see parallels with the way that Jim Larinaga has had a lot of his guys like Chris and some other people around him. I mean, do you see not parallels between the way it's run, but the parallels between just how consistency in staff tends to lead to success?
Yeah, I do actually think that, it's crazy. Do you have like a tape recorder or something? We were just talking about this on the plane yesterday with our coaching staff. And, we just really admire, what Coach Larranaga has been able to do at UM. And that's not the easiest of jobs. And he's been able to develop a culture of winning, but also doing it the right way, building stability, within the staff, a consistency, where you know the same faces. So then when they're building new teams, as you have to in college, you have the consistency of culture, and something that everybody can wrap their minds around. And then also there's just a great interest in their program now. And, we all feel connected with that we're slowly turning, the 305 in South Florida into a basketball town. And the Hurricanes are a part of that. I've been friendly with their coaching staff for a decade. We've done, coaching, chalk talks, over the years. And I hope it does turn out that way. Also, I think it would just be awesome, for Coach L, to coach as long as he wants, because he's as young as he's ever been. But then if he could start to groom the next guy, in a similar way that Pat did with me, and I think we would all love to see Chris Caputo, as that guy. I think he's just done a phenomenal job as assistant coach, and he's been, right-hand guy for Coach Larranaga for a long period of time. And hopefully that'll be there for a while. But that would be really, really cool if it could transition, into a similar thing like we have here at the Heat.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Josh Moser, Channel 7. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. For tonight's game with Embiid and Harden out, there's sometimes a tendency for teams to play down to the competition. How do you make sure your team doesn't do that?
Well, we're at the the end where you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we have some things that we want to work on. We're incorporating Markieff, into the rotation. Vic is not going to be available tonight, but we do have some new things that we're trying to look at, and we're trying to get ready, for this postseason. We're using every one of these days as an opportunity to get better, whether that's the 2 practice days that we had last week, the 2 games. I thought we made some progress as well. We've also gotten some good rest days and recovery, for guys so they can feel a little bit fresher. But we want to gear up. We want to get ready. It's going to be that time before we know it.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
And last question, we have Wes Goldberg. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. In regards to Markieff playing him at center, what have you liked from those lineups that you've seen? And is that something you envision being maybe more matchup dependent, or is that something you'd like to get to maybe to make other teams match up with you guys?
Well, Markieff is just a good winning veteran player. So he does a lot of things that fit, with what we do. Positionally, I think that could be overanalyzed right now, whether he's a 4 or the 5. I just think if he's out there, he can complement a lot of the guys that have, gained a lot of confidence this season while he was out, and have really taken big steps forward, particularly some of our young guys. And I think he complements them very well. He has a lot of playoff experience, which we like. So these next 11 games will be really important for him, and we'll figure it out. I just want to be open to all the possibilities, whatever makes the most sense. And once you get into the playoffs, a lot of it does become matchup based.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, that was Coach Eric Spoelstra talking about tonight's game and also talking a little bit about Coach Larranaga here at the University of Miami. Let's continue with our pregame show. Now, next, let's go with Doc Rivers talking about tonight's game. Remember, James Harden and Joel and Embiid are both out. They will not be playing tonight against the Miami Heat.
Hello, how are you? I'm doing great.
Did today fall into the planned rest plan that you guys had for James?
Not really. One it did, but more both. Joel's been nursing the back, and James, we're very conscious of what's going on with his hamstring, so we're just being very careful.
Yeah, this kind of game where we might see Charles or Paul.
Probably, yes.
With those guys getting opportunities like this, what do you hope to see?
Just good play. I mean, Charles has been down, obviously in the G League, so is Paul until recently. So in Charles' case, at least he's had some games. He's been playing. He's been going up and down. Where in Paul, we do the low minute games. He's been playing in those. But listen, this is their careers. Like every night they play, they're trying to prove they should play more minutes and try to earn some minutes, and they want to be pros like everybody. This is not fun and games for these guys. This is serious stuff. We want them to be good players. They're just good, deep, a lot of veterans, kind of know how to play. They've kind of bought in, to the Miami way, all of them. There's a lot of new guys on their team as well. Kyle and Tuck, they've both been great for him. Kyle's going through a lot of stuff off the court, coming back to Philly, back in here and back, home to Miami for him. And so he's had a tough year in a lot of ways, but he still figures out a way of, he's just a pro. They've added some pros to their team.
In regards to James, this is just for rest. There hasn't been any setbacks.
No setbacks. Yeah, just precaution.
You can get like a little, it's like some gamesmanship, like an advantage in assuming you would play Miami in the playoffs.
You mean tonight?
Yeah.
No. Nope.
How close are you to 12 games to go to kind of figuring out playoff rotations and things like that, Doc? I know it's a day by day.
I'm not that close. I'm not that concerned by it either, to be honest. I'm just not. We give a lot of talk to rotations around here. I guess it's a Philly thing. I don't know, but I always laugh at it. So if we set our rotation and then one guy plays poorly, should we not play someone else off the bench, or should we just stick to it? You know what I mean? Like I don't. So we got a lot of guys, and clearly the one thing I will give you is we definitely want to. It's not the rotation to me, it's more figuring out a way to play with one guy on the floor, meaning James and Joel, when one is off the floor. That to me is a bigger concern for me as far as our rhythm and how we play there. That to me is very important for us. And we've had, we've been inconsistent in that to me. I think the Joel and James together has figured that out pretty well. We're starting to do that well. But the separation of the two, one night it seems like the one group, whatever we have out there is doing well. Then the next night it's the other group. And so what we're really looking for is 48 consistent minutes of good play. And we haven't done that yet.
You said for so long that it really didn't matter when you finished who you're going to play in the
Yeah.
Is there a point though that you would like to finish at least top four?
Yeah, I think everyone would like to finish top four, just for first round home court, I guess. But even in that, I think if you ask every coach, if you say health or top four, they're going to take health. You know what I mean? So, but having top four is always nice to have, because you get 4 games at home if you need them. So. How are you? Yeah.
How do you mix in Tyrese getting a chance to watch you guys last night? Speed he plays.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been inconsistent in that. That's big for us. Like, we have to keep our pace. Last night, if you watched that game, if you stayed up to watch it, and if you watched it and you stayed up to watch it, you can say that twice. As slow as the damn game was, that's not how we want to play, and so that's what we were just talking about, hit or miss, in the games where we've gotten the ball up and out and allowed Tyrese to be Tyrese. It's been really good for us. In the games where we choose to play that slow man, Ronnie Rothstein's not here, so I'm going to say Ronnie Rothstein type basketball. I love that. Then it's going to be that type of game, and then whenever you play in those games, you're almost guaranteeing it's going to come down on the final shot, because, tonight would be a night you may choose to do that, to try to keep the game close and steal it at the end. But most nights you shouldn't, but at least I don't think we should.
For James, since the last game he sat, it's been about 39 minutes per game right
Yeah.
now. Comfortable with that number?
No. It's funny though, we go back and forth with our team on it, because, the whole thing with James is that he's missed a lot, before this. And James he wants to build it up so he can play 40 minutes a night for playoffs, or have that ability to do that. And so we've done that twice. And that's a good thing, but 39 on an average is too much. So, but we do, you have to ramp everybody's minutes up. You have to build it up so when they get to the playoffs, they're able to sustain a little bit more minutes.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
That was Doc Rivers talking about tonight's game against the Miami Heat. Again, the Miami Heat are first in the Eastern Conference, and I made a mistake when I said they're trying to get a little bit more advantage over the second team. The second team right now is the Milwaukee Bucks. They are 3 games behind the Miami Heat. The Sixers are 3.5 behind. The Celtics 3.5 as well, and the Bulls 5.5 entering this week. For my friend over here, who was it? Dietrich. How are you, Dietrich? My name is Alejandro. Nice to meet you. I'm the producer here on 5 Reasons. So everything you see here in the YouTube channel maybe has something to do with me. So I hope you're having fun, and I hope you're subscribed already to our channel. We're getting closer and closer to 17,000 subscribers, and that's thanks to all of you guys that have helped us to build this beautiful community here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Okay, let's continue now. To finish our pregame show, I want to play today's episode of 5 on the Floor with Ethan Skolnick and Alex Toledo, talking a little bit about what could mean for the Miami Heat to be in the first place, if that could be a blessing or it could be a nightmare, depending on what goes on in behind the Miami Heat. So let's go ahead and take a little look ahead what's going to be happening in the playoffs this year. I hope you enjoy it. We'll be here.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports. Check it out before floor, an hour before every game. Post up 5R as soon as the Heat game ends. 5reasonsports.com is back up. You can check out the latest takeaways from Brady Hawk and others without a paywall. And check out the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You're probably on the internet, I would guess, right? Well, you need security. Okay, so check out NordVPN. Online security starts with a click. NordVPN encrypts your internet traffic and hides your IP and virtual location. NordVPN helps protect you against bandwidth throttling from internet providers where ISPs slow down your internet to get you to upgrade. NordVPN also allows you to switch your country IP address to access Netflix, Disney+, YouTube Premium, and all these other streaming services in other countries for cheaper prices. NordVPN offers unparalleled browsing security and protection from hacking of personal data. And it's not expensive, especially if you use our code. So go to nordvpn.com, nordvpn.com/5RSN, or you can go directly to the NordVPN site and enter 5RSN. You'll get a discount on your NordVPN plan, plus 1 additional month for free and a bonus gift at checkout. And that all comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So check it out, nordvpn.com/5RSN, and start saving with the world's leading VPN
provider. And now, tonight's episode.
Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's about have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back on 5 on the Floor. Here's tonight's floor plan. I got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick and at 5 Reasons Sports. I hope you didn't follow me to Philadelphia. That's where I am right now. I'm going to be here for Heat Sixers on Monday night, getting back on the road here a little bit. I know Heat fans probably not thrilled with that, but a big game on Monday. As of now, this is what we know about who's in, who's out, and then we'll get to today's topic. No Victor Oladipo. He did not travel with the team. Gabe Vincent did travel but will not play. Dedmon is available. He didn't play the other night, but Spoelstra said that he would play. Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin are questionable, but both are on the trip. Okay, so we will get into the Philly game here a little bit with Alex, but the overriding topic tonight is this. The Miami Heat look like they're going to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And it looks like nobody else seems to care. And I'm not talking about the media now. I'm talking about other teams. We're seeing other teams that are chasing the Heat in the standings, you would think, who are resting guys like Giannis. It doesn't seem Milwaukee cares. It doesn't seem Philadelphia cares. We know, obviously, Chicago has slipped. Boston has come up, but they're not really in striking distance yet. And we know, of course, a part of this has to do with the Nets. So we'll get into the play-in rules and all the rest of this. But I'll just ask you this, Alex. Is, in your view, the number 1 seed a prize this year? And should the Heat be going for it?
The Heat should be going for it because they've been there for a while and have every reason to hold on to it. Like at the end of the day, and look at me using it right at the beginning of the show, the Heat are, they're going to have home court advantage if they stay there. That is something that you can hold on to and look at in the playoffs, in the sense that you're going to have 4 games at home every time. And the Heat have been a very good home team. You still want that. And although maybe the prize is not as nice and shiny as it always is, where usually part of the reward is you get to play like the Orlando Magic, who don't even deserve to be in the playoffs most of the time that they were the past few years. Instead, you're going to have to play a team that's probably a good deal better than them. I mean, definitely a good deal better than those types of Magic teams or, other 8 seeds in the past that we've seen in the Eastern Conference. I think that's the biggest change. Other than that, it's like, you've been there. Hold on to it. I think like, They have a good lead right now. Like you said, they're 3 games ahead of the Sixers and Bucks, who are tied with each other right now. And I think for them, they should want it. But I guess like for prioritizing the playoffs makes sense more so than chasing the 1 seed for a team that maybe in their minds they're looking at the Heat as like, they're not as talented. The biggest problems are each other, in the sense that if you're in the heads of the Bucks, the Nets, the Sixers, the Celtics, the other teams that are there in the mix as the contenders. I just feel like, maybe they don't think about the Heat on the same level as these other teams who have Kevin Durant, Giannis, Joel Embiid. But for the Heat, you're there. Hold on to it. Like it would be dumb to let go of it now. You have a 3-game lead. It would mean that they finished off the season terribly.
Well, I think that is the single biggest thing. You don't want to slump going into the end of the year, regardless of who you've got playing, particularly when, you've made the mantra of we have enough and you've lived up to it all year. But I think you hit on it in this sense. And we talked about this on a previous episode, so we won't belabor it too much as we move on. But I think that the rest of the East views the Heat as a soft number 1. I don't think they view them as a powerhouse number 1 seed, even though, like you said, the Heat took control about when we thought they would take control, when guys started to get back, when you started to get more home games. I mean, this schedule is played out pretty much as everybody anticipated. Now they're 47-24 right now. They're going to finish ahead of the Vegas projection, which was 48.5. Okay. They're going to get there. This is probably going to end up, you look at with 11 games left. Let's say they go 7-4, they're going to win 54 games. I mean, that's the number that, that's more, by the way, than the 2006 Heat won during the regular season. They won 52 before they won a championship. I believe it's the same as the 2013-14 Heat, the last year of the Big Three. I mean, that is 54 games. That is a lot of wins in a good conference. Okay. And when you've been dealing with the in and out of all these players all year long, but I don't think that the rest of and this is not about the media now. I think this is the rest of the so-called East contenders do not view the Heat as a powerhouse number one seed, even if they end up with 57, 58 wins. I don't think that they'll view them that way. And so I think that plays into it. But one thing I want to get into, because obviously we're going to touch on the Nets, and I think this plays into it. I think we need to explain the play-in rules one more time, okay? Because there is a perception among some Heat fans that, like, Brooklyn being 8 guarantees them playing Miami. And in reality, it actually, in my view, lowers the chances of them playing Miami. Because if Brooklyn ends up the number 8 seed, okay, let's just say right now, Alex, right now, Toronto is a game and a half behind Cleveland for 6. Now, Toronto, Canada has rules that Kyrie cannot play in their country. He can't even come into the country, okay? So I think that a lot of Heat fans are looking at it and saying, okay, if it's Brooklyn versus Toronto in that plan, because the way that this works is 7 versus 8, the winner of that game is the 7. The 8 seed does not have to beat them twice. It's just the winner of that game is the 7. The loser of that game plays the winner of 9-10, which right now is Charlotte and Atlanta, okay, which we perceive to be weaker opponents. If Brooklyn is the 8 and Toronto is the 7, then Kyrie, as of the moment, unless this changes in the next 3 weeks, cannot play, okay? And so I think that a lot of Heat fans are assuming if that's the case, Brooklyn probably loses that game to Toronto in Toronto, is the 8, then beats the winner of Atlanta, Charlotte at home without Kyrie, because you probably win that game without Kyrie, and you end up the 8 playing Miami in the first round, okay? But if Cleveland is the 7, Alex, Brooklyn's going to beat Cleveland as the 8th seed, I think, even without Kyrie Irving, because they have Kevin Durant, in which case they're going to get the 7. Isn't that the most likely scenario right now?
Well, I think the thing is, and I agree with you. I think I said that on another show. Maybe it was Floor is Yours. I don't know. But that was kind of what I was expecting at this point. And they were tied recently. I don't like that Toronto slid back. I was kind of, I wanted to see this. I wanted to see Kyrie play against Cleveland. I thought it would actually be a pretty good playing game, but expect Brooklyn to win. Like, I think Kyrie being able to play gives them that extra nudge that they need to be able to win that game. Whereas, like, the Raptors focusing their entire defense on Durant in a must-win game just sounds terrible and maybe like not nearly as much of a guarantee. So that now you're making me a little bit paranoid, because I could see that happening too. But I don't know, because I think both teams have similar strength of schedule right now. I just checked it, and the thing with the Raptors is they've been playing well. The Cavs are missing certain guys, but look, the Heat, they got to protect home court advantage. I think you can't mess around with any of that. And this stuff is changing on a daily basis when it comes to the Raptors and the Cavs.
Let me ask. I'm going to hold it.
Can't be worried about those teams, man.
Think about it past the break here, okay? I want to ask you this question. How far do you go if you're Brooklyn to draw the Heat? Because I would assume, and again, don't give your answer yet, but I would assume they would prefer to play Miami in the first round, even though they're 0-3 against the Heat, as opposed to playing Philadelphia and that circus, even though they just blew out the Sixers on the road, and certainly as opposed to playing Milwaukee in the first round. I would assume, okay? So just hold that thought, because I want to know if you would assume the same thing, but also we'll get into whether or not they actually can jockey for position there. Before we do, I want to tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. This one is another of our local sponsors. They're based right in North Miami. It's called You Break Wheel Fix. We talk about culture here all the time on the program, especially when Greg is here. You Break Wheel Fix. They got the big 3: wheel repair, refinish, and custom wheels. They do all 3 with over 20 years of experience. You Break Wheel Fix repairs damaged wheels from curb rash, cracks, or bends, all under one roof with in-house powder coating, CNC machining, and polishing. They also offer the new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands such as Vossen, Fuel Off-Road, just to name a couple. And they offer no credit check financing up to $5,000 for a new set of wheels. They got fast turnaround times on all repairs. They even provide the loaner wheels in many cases. So reach out to them. You Brake Wheel Fix, your total automotive wheel solution. They're based in North Miami, right off of Biscayne and Northeast 146th Street. I have sent friends there, not just people who listen to the show. I have sent friends there over the past few weeks. They've all had a great experience. They're like, thanks for introducing me to Mark and all that. We talked about ball and everything else, and they did a great job. Okay. And they did it quickly. So reach out to them at You Brake Wheel Fix, 305-748-0112, 305-748-0112, or check them out at youbrakewheelfix.com or You Brake Wheel Fix on Instagram or Facebook, where they show you all of their work. So check it out. You Brake Wheel Fix, changing the way that you see wheels. All right. Is my premise correct? Before we get to whether or not the Nets would actually jockey for position, do you think the Brooklyn Nets would prefer to face Philadelphia or Milwaukee in the first round as opposed to Miami?
No.
Right.
No. I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe they look at the individual matchups, not only season the past, where them has kind of been a questionable score among like other guys who are of his caliber of player in the league. And I think those are the games where he stood out over and over and over. I think guys know how good the players on the Heat are and have respect for those guys. But maybe as a team, it's like, they're really good, but you're not having to deal with this like Megatron like size type player. I don't know, I'm losing my words here, but I'm talking about where you have to focus your defense on this one person who is just going to destroy you and puts you with a small margin for error, where the Sixers have two of them, the Nets have two of them, the Bucks, kind of have one, and then they have two other guys who are really good in the playoffs. Like, it's just those guys are more talented when it comes to high-end superstar talent. We all know this. We can all see this just by looking at the roster, but it's a real thing. Like, I think that's what we expect to win in the playoffs. And I think that's something that runs deep in the NBA, always has. And although the Heat can win a title, the expectations are always going to be with the best players in the world. And that's what these other teams have.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. By the way, as I'm looking at the standings, we shouldn't assume that Chicago won't be in that situation with Brooklyn in an 8-7. I mean, right now, the Bulls are only a half game up on the Cavs. They've lost 8 out of 10. And they're only 2 games up on Toronto for 7. So Chicago, for all the hype about Chicago, they can end up in a play-in situation. And additionally, Boston could end up the 2 seed still. They could end up the 1 seed, but they could definitely end up the 2 seed. They're only right now, I didn't realize how close this is. They have the same number of wins as Philadelphia. They're 2 back in the loss column, 1 game back overall. So they could get up there also. So I'm with you on all that as far as Brooklyn. I think they would much prefer to play Miami, even though they're 0-3 against Miami this season. It wouldn't. By the way,
they should think twice. They should think twice about that.
They should. But here's my question. Okay, so this leads to the next thing. If you're Brooklyn, if you want to play Miami, do you take the chance of jockeying for position to play a number 1 seed in Miami? Because look, you can make it happen if you want to. Okay, let's say you're the 8. Okay, you lose that game.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I think there's
let's say you start as the 8. You lose that game, right? You don't have Kyrie. You lose it to Toronto, or in Cleveland you would have it. In Chicago you would have it. You wouldn't have him in Toronto. You lose that game, and you guarantee yourself. You don't guarantee. Nothing's guaranteed, but you assume you're going to beat Chicago or Charlotte or Atlanta, who would be the 9-10, the winner of the 9-10 at home without Kyrie. If you're the Nets, do you take any chances with that, or you just win to get the 7?
Oh no, you definitely win to get the 7.
Right.
You win to get the 7. I don't think like KD and Kyrie would even think about that. Like, those guys are as solidified in the playoffs as it gets. And I think another thing is, like, who knows what's going on with Simmons and his body. So I think, like, maybe he won't be back in those early rounds. So maybe it would be better for the Heat to, like, if it does come down to that, maybe it would be better for the Heat to get him in the first round as opposed to later on, which could happen if the Nets, get the 7 seed and just get past these other guys in their bracket, meaning the Sixers and the Bucks. So I don't know, man. Like, I could see the positive from both ends on this. I think like there's still too much up in the air. Where I feel like a week ago I felt a little bit cocksure that the Heat were going to get the Cavs in the first round. I'm not sure now because I feel like I'm always wrong when it comes to things like this. So, I'm expecting the Raptors and the Nets now.
All right. We're going to get to one more thing here on the episode. We're going to look a little bit ahead at this game against Philadelphia and some of the meaningful games the rest of the season. Before we do, I want to tell you about one more sponsor here of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, our friends over at All Pro Construction Builders. If you're in South Florida, which I'm not right now, but if you're there, hurricane season is around the corner. You got to protect your home or business. So make sure you contact All Pro Construction Builders. They specialize in impact windows and doors for residential and commercial properties. All Pro Construction Builders is a state certified licensed and insured general contractor. They service Miami-Dade, Monroe, and Danny told me to tell everybody, also Broward. Okay, they service Broward too. They use only locally made products, American made. And yes, you reach out to Danny directly. You just deal with an owner from start to finish, him and his family. They will take care of you. This is a family business, big Miami sports fans, as well as many of our other sponsors. And they offer competitive pricing, but also quality service. Make sure you mention 5 Reasons Sports, okay? Because 5 Reasons, however you want to call it, they'll know. Because not only will you get a free estimate, but you also get a 10% discount when you protect your home. So 305-484-4429. That's Danny at 305-484-4429. Or check them out on Instagram at All Pro Construction Builders. And the website is going to be up soon. All right. We got Philadelphia here tomorrow night. And again, it's hard to really evaluate the games. We don't know if Jimmy is playing. But I just wanted to do a quick check of the schedule here because it seems like the Heat schedule is playing out in a way where they can kind of like play guys and then rest guys depending on the opponent. Okay, so they're in Philadelphia for what's going to be a tough matchup here on Monday night. Then they go home and they play the Warriors, but the Warriors don't have Steph. And then 2 nights later they play the Knicks. Okay, 10 games under 500 at the moment. Then they get a more meaningful game against the Nets at home, which may be a little bit of a statement game. And we know Kyrie's going to play in that game. He almost beat the Heat by himself last time. Then they get sort of a rest game against the Kings at home. I mean, the Kings are now 25-47. The bottom is dropped out again. Then a tough game in Boston, followed by a seemingly tough game against Chicago, but they're not playing that well on the road. And then another one in Toronto. That's kind of the more difficult 3-game stretch, that 3-game road trip. Then the Hornets at home, the Hawks at home. So they'll see both of those possible play-in teams. And then they finish in Orlando. And even with all the jinxes that they've had in Orlando over the years, you would figure that they would hammer that team. So it's kind of, again, there's some challenging teams on there that they may see in the playoffs, almost all East teams at this stage. And then there's some softer opponents. Would you play it this way that you, Alex, that you basically play your best players against the best teams as tune-ups and maybe give Jimmy, PJ, some of these other guys a rest against, the Kings, the Knicks, and the Magic and some of those teams?
Absolutely. And I think that's what they're going to do. I mean, look, maybe one of these games against the better teams, they don't throw, maybe one of those guys are out. I just kind of, the season is winding down. They have a good lead, and I think they're going to be strategic. I just think that's what makes sense at this point. Certain guys have had, been playing a lot of minutes, a lot of wear and tear going on there. So I just think like Keith and Oladipo coming back really helps get some of these guys rest. And Jimmy getting rest, hopefully with that happening, you get some reps of Oladipo actually getting the ball, trying to get to the basket, other than just trying to, spot up and screen and stay away from the ball pretty much. So there's positives and negatives to all of it, but really I'm expecting the Heat to bring their A game when it comes to the better teams as warm-ups, like you said. The only thing is maybe, Spo is going to throw something out for certain matchups that he might not throw out now in the regular season. So I think we're just going to see more of the same of what they've done versus these teams in the past. So nothing new. Like we've seen what they do versus Giannis in the past. We've seen what they do versus Embiid in the past and with Durant as well. So I just think they're going to do more of the same type of stuff there. And like we're going to see, I was just trying to look at the teams that they're playing against. The only two that are not playing for anything are the Kings and the Magic. And they have like some tough teams, like you said, but almost like most of these games are at home. They have one of the, I think the 10th toughest schedule left according to Tankathon. But like I said, it's mostly at home. So the Heat are kind of in control of their own destiny here.
They are, and that's kind of why we want to do this episode, because the question is, how much do they want to control it? So that's actually a question that I'll probably get a chance to ask at shoot around. I haven't been to a road shoot around in about 6 years, so there's actually a little bit more access to players, and that is something I want to ask them tomorrow. And you guys can check it out. I'm going to post a lot of this on our Off the Floor thread, so make sure you subscribe to that. You can find that from the 5 Reasons Twitter account. But I want to ask these guys, like, how much does the 1 seed mean? And do you hear the chatter that maybe people want to play you when you're the 1 seed? I'm curious if they've heard any of it. They've talked a lot about how they don't care about any of it. And then we saw Tyler Herro's interview with ESPN, and it's clear they're listening. Okay, so they're paying attention to it. Check out our sponsors, nordvpn.com/5RSN. You Break, We'll Fix in North Miami, and all pro construction builders pretty much anywhere in South Florida. Also, prizepicks.com. Make sure you're using that code 5, F-I-V-E. When you sign up, you get your initial deposit matched up to $100. Have a good night, everybody, or day.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
So thank you guys for joining today's pregame show. I see some of you guys' messages. Hi, Mo. Yes, Royal's going to be in the postgame show tonight. As soon as the game ends, please come back here and we will have the postgame show. He is back tonight. Alan, Jose, Dietrich, Matthew, thank you very much for being here and sending your comments. Lazaro, who else was around here? Potman and Jax, Jared, Happy Jack, Vince, Visions, Santi. Thank you to all of you that came here and joined us for the pregame show. The starting lineup for the Miami Heat, the starting 5: Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, and PJ Tucker. So the best 5, the starting 5 for the Heat. Again, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, and PJ Tucker. That's going to be the 5 starting tonight against the Philadelphia 76ers. Have a good night. Enjoy the game. Thank you very much. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. Please give it a thumbs up. Please leave your comment, share it with your friends, and tell them to come over here and join the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. We are closer and closer to 17,000 followers here. So thank you very much for being part of the family. And if you know any Miami Heat fans, we know there are a lot out there that don't know about our content. Not only Miami Heat fans. I mean, we have everything here. Every single South Florida team is being covered here. And even Formula One now with the new Heat in the Apex show also here in the 5 Reasons. So make sure you check it out and share it with your friends that love sports. Have a good night. Enjoy the game. And we will see you later tonight. Not only here for the post-up show, also if you want to have some in-game analysis, join the baseball. We also have baseball. We went to Jupiter this weekend. If you want some in-game show, join the Pace and Spaces halftime show on Twitter. Have a good night. Enjoy the game, and we will see you later here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Bye-bye.